Nikita Zadorov has been traded to the Vancouver Canucks. The guy who requested a trade out of Calgary has finally been moved to, one of the rivals of this franchise. And it's kind of a weird trade, but we're going to be going over in this video on why it adds to the Vancouver Canucks in a phenomenal level. Before we get into that, real quick, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. We know it's a lot of you guys watching right now are not subscribed, so if you're looking for a spot to get all your news over the NHL, you're in the right spot. Make sure to stay a while, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of the breaking news. But like I said, you know what happened by now. Nikita Zadorov has been traded to Vancouver, a move that I think very well suits the Vancouver Canucks and fits everything they need. At this point, they kind of had an unexpected start to the season, and they've been very, very good, and adding to this defense is really what they need. So I'll pull up the trade here really quick. It's the Vancouver Canucks are receiving Nikita Zadorov, his full contract, for a 5th and a 3rd round pick, the 5th in 2024 and the 3rd in 2026. Now, I gotta say, I think both win this deal. Calgary didn't have too much leverage on Zadorov in this trade since he had requested a trade out. So getting a 3rd and a 5th, I say, is a win in my books for the Calgary Flames of what they could do. And Vancouver, obviously, they needed a defenseman to fill in a bit of the depth here on this team, and it worked out fantastic. I'll show you real quick before I get your thoughts on this, Noah, the defensive lines here. Zadorov can play left and right defense. I don't know what side he prefers. I'm not too sure off the top of my head, but either way, I think it's going to be a solid add to whatever line he goes on.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, Noah Juleson ain't really a first-line defenseman, but I think that if you do put Zadorov on that side, I think it'll work out well. But Noah, what do you think about the trade here now? Quickly before we go into the rest of this whole deal.
Yeah, I mean, by the looks of that, they clearly needed a defenseman. I mean, that's a given. I mean, you said it with Noah Juleson, he's not a first-line defenseman, but they needed to bring in a guy that can play, be a pretty solid defenseman, and that's what Nikita Zadorov is. He's not a Quinn Hughes, obviously, who's probably going to be his line mate. Not going to be an 80, 90-point defenseman by no means, but he does everything right. He's a good puck mover. He can absolutely destroy people. He can lay the body. We've seen that time and time again. He's a big body. I think he might be 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah, I know what he is.
He's somewhere. Yeah, he's somewhere around that. But, perfect pair for Quinn Hughes. I love the move for Vancouver. But, and I also think Calgary, like you said, to get a 3rd-round pick back, I mean, I think it's pretty solid. It just makes me wonder what's next for Calgary, too. I mean, it seems like they're probably going to be selling. I mean, Chris Tanev might be next. There might be some guys up front moved. Who knows?
Yeah, I know. We don't really know what's happening on either side of this, really. Vancouver kind of came out of nowhere. It was a lot of the Leafs in conversation, but I would assume the Vancouver Canucks had to pay what they did in the 3rd and the 5th to be able to beat out the teams like the Leafs, who are very, very high on them, frankly. I think that that was a must pay, I guess you could say, for Vancouver to give up that 3rd.
100%.
Yeah, I'd say a lot of other teams are probably offering like a 4th and a 5th maybe, but for what you can get out of Nikita Zadorov, I think it's a fantastic idea. Now, he's on the last year of his deal. He's had a 2-year, $3.75 million last season, so he's in the final year of his deal this year. And I would assume if the Vancouver Canucks can keep going, that they might try to extend him. The Vancouver Canucks are not
I could see that, yeah.
Yeah, they're not in a situation right now where they're a top playoff team, but by the way they're playing and by the way this team is playing, it looks like they could be in a little while. We spoke about it last year as well when they were in a bit of a tough situation. That team was. It was not the team. The team is very, very good. I think it was a lot on staff and everything, but that got all sorted out, and now we see that the Vancouver Canucks are one of the top teams in the NHL with a lot of the top players in the NHL. So this team, I think, is just going to be on adding. They're going to be on add mode. They're going to keep on adding little pieces here and there. Because, they're pretty complete, but obviously just a few more things on this team would add to them. A bit of size would do them good.
For them to add another middle six winger, maybe. Connor Garland, he's obviously been in some trade talks. To the Blackhawks, I've heard that Connor Garland might be a Blackhawk. I'd like to see him maybe moved out, brought in another guy, play with Kuzmenko. I think it is their second line, one of their second line wingers. Fantastic player, one more piece, and Vancouver's almost there. I think they're almost a playoff contender. So you bring in another guy to play in their forward core. I think they're scary.
Yeah, no, I think they can absolutely make the playoffs. I think there's no trouble for them to do that, but I don't know if they'll be able to make a deep playoff run, I guess you could say. I think what they're going to be in the mode of now is taking out some players, like you said, in Connor Garland, and maybe adding in someone who can fill that role better, but might not be more skilled than Connor Garland. I feel like they could add someone who gets a bit of line chemistry rather than someone who is more skilled. I think that's the mode Vancouver's in now. They're not, they're not in any rebuild mode or anything, and they're not in a mode where they can just coast to the playoffs. So they're looking good. This trade, I think, is only the beginning. It really is.
I think so too.
And you can see here on the bottom on the base bar, 15-7-1. They're second in the Pacific, but only behind Vegas, who is just an absolute powerhouse. So if they can continue on this trajectory, it's looking good for the Vancouver Canucks. And like you said, a few more moves here and there, some middle six, just a few, picking in the nitty gritties of it is what you're really doing at this point for the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah.
And this is only the start, like I said. So I do expect to see a few more moves from the Vancouver Canucks here soon.
It's really weird. They were last year. They were selling. Bo Horvat got traded. It seemed like they were trying to just get rid of everybody, and now a year later they're trying to make the playoffs and trying to push for the playoffs. It's so weird what can happen to a team during the season, and it's just that's evident. Right there.
Absolutely, and it shows that's not just on the players. It's not just on players playing bad. It's a lot about the coaching staff. We've seen it with Minnesota. Last night the coaching change. First night they got a win. Matthew Boldy felt like he came back and looked good, and I think that's the same thing from Vancouver, except they had an whole offseason for it in the end of last season. So, that just shows right there. I think this team is very capable. I think the Bo Horvat move was still a good move. I don't think Bo Horvat really fit on that team. Even though he was the captain, I think it was a better off for him to find a new home, just to make a move. You had to make a move at some point, even if you're good, and you got a few difficulties. But that's a prime opportunity. I think Vancouver will make a few more moves. Maybe at the trade deadline, depending on how the season progresses, how hungry they are near the trade deadline. 100%. Yeah, I think they're good on goalies. I think Thatcher Demko he'll work, and we'll see how much this Vancouver team does. There's not too much other I can say right now without knowing the course they're going to go on to. But it is looking in the right direction. It's pointing in the right direction for the Vancouver Canucks here. So that's all we got for this video. Noah, any final thoughts you got here?
No, I don't think they're done. Or they're not finished. So be on the lookout. We'll probably be pretty quick to upload when the Canucks make a move as well. So
yeah, no, absolutely. Especially if it's a big one. I don't see any superstar moves coming up here a lot down the pipeline, but I do see a few things that will make Vancouver a much better team come playoff time. Assuming they're in a playoff spot. I don't think they're in a sell mode anymore. This team's proven they can do it. Quinn Hughes has been absolutely ridiculously good. God, it's been incredible. So I'm very happy that the Vancouver Canucks are making this move. It's going to be an interesting final push to the end of the season, I guess, here coming up to the trade deadline, I should say. But that's all we got for this video. Make sure to subscribe, like I said at the beginning, if you do want to not miss any major news around the NHL. But that's all we got for this video. Make sure to give it a like if you haven't already. But thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.